Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tobias Clerc, and I will be opening this conference on behalf of the Swiss Press Club and its director, Pierre Rucci. I would like to welcome you all to this conference, those in the room, as well as those following us on internet, on social medias, and on our webpage, www.pressclub.ch. I would like to thank the IRDG, the Institute for Rights and Development in Geneva, for taking the initiative to organize this conference. Today, Monday, 4th April, is the International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. The conference is entitled The Path to Eradicate Landmines in Azerbaijan, an International Challenge. To discuss this topic, we are pleased to welcome the speakers who will share their work and views about this topic. We have Mr. Richard Bellity, Secretary of the IRDG, Dr. Nidal SALIM, Director General, Global Institute for Water, Environment and Health, Mr. Noah Curry, Executive Director of Youth Parliament for SDGs, and Madame Aya Linda, Program Officer at Midline, a Swiss NGO. Without further ado, I will give the floor to Mr. Richard Bellity. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Please speak in the microphones. Thank you very much.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us for this conference for the International Mine Action Day. I'm from International Institute for Right and Development, Geneva. Our organization is a Swiss non-governmental organization in special consultative statute with the Economic and Social Council, UN ECOSOC. Since 2018, we are committed to the promotion of human rights, individual awareness, and bring capacity building programs in post-conflict area. So I will just give the floor to Aya Linda from Midline, and I will talk afterwards from the topics of mine action in Azerbaijan. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. 17 years ago, on the same day, the General Assembly of the United Nations declared April 4th of each year as the International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. And by doing so, the international community shed the light on the importance of frustrating the development of state mine action capacities where the explosive remnants of war threat seriously the safety, health, and the lives of innocent civilians, but also the environment and the economic development. No one can deny the important achievements of the global mine action, and especially the international campaign to ban landmines, founded in 1992 and rewarded by the Nobel Prize in 1907. Nor the importance of the international law tools provided by the 1999 through the Mine Ban Convention to counter this phenomenon. But notably, there is still much effort and work to be done. The UN Mine Action Service marks this day under the theme Safe Ground, Safe Steps, Safe Home. And it seems that it reflects perfectly the aim of the action, but also the aim of this conference. As a matter of fact, the ICRC, for instance, emphasizes that even though war should end when hostilities and fighting stop, death remains one wrong step away, and anti-personnel mines continue to wound and kill innocents even after the war is over. The ICRC also highlights the long-term consequences of anti-personnel mine on victims. They cause serious disabilities and injuries, which often requires amputation. Furthermore, the debris and shards of mine casing and fragments of foot bones penetrates deep into the wound. But landmines have also major consequences on the suffering environment too. Through the killing of the wildlife, destruction of close range of vegetation, and damage on soil composition, preventing cultivating lands because of the toxic substances of landmines. Today, great challenges, especially concerning removing mines that remain on the ground, are still exist. We can witness the effects of mines over 56 countries around the world, and notably in Azerbaijan. However, the international community have been supporting the mediation efforts between Armenia and Azerbaijan concerning the landmines maps in Azerbaijan. But today we need effective measures and more efforts to help prevent further loss of innocents who have the right to return to their homes and to live safe without fear, nor being injured or killed by the rest of the landmines. We must stand to support ending the suffering of humans who have been homeless for almost 30 years of war and occupation, and we must help make them return home by providing Azerbaijan by the maps of the remaining landmines on its ground. It is unfair to intensify furthermore the losses of the war and the victims' numbers when the mine can be removed and when lives can be easily saved. Thank you. I pass the floor to Richard back.
Thank you, Linda. I'll make the link of what she just said, that IRDG would like to draw to the international community's attention the important threat to the population posed by landmines, unexploded ordnance and other explosive remnants of war left on the Azerbaijan territory in the aftermath of the Azerbaijan-Armenian past conflicts in the Karabakh region. Our institute, IRDG, had visited the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan and met with the Mine Action Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan, ANAMA, the Azerbaijan body in charge of the remnants of war, clearing at the management level as well as the operational level on the field. We have been witnessing the destruction of villages and means of living that affects the area. On the other hand, we also have been witnessing the will and energy of the Azerbaijani people at tackling the reconstruction of the area and answering the people's needs. Azerbaijan is currently addressing the clearance of remnants of war with all the means at its disposal, but it is also working to address the problem of internally displaced people, representing an estimated 750,000 people, in addition to the 250,000 refugees. However, the contaminated areas are vast, the number of victims in need of assistance is overwhelming, and the resources allocated are small in comparison with the complexity and magnitude of the problem. For the time being, there is no possible return for the population until the region has been cleared completely from its remnants of war. As per all country that has been affected by such traumatic ordeal, clearance of remnants of war in Azerbaijan will need time, but it will also need the involvement and supportive action from the United Nations in addition to the collaboration of countries linked to the conflict. Most victims of this kind of issue are affected mainly, but not only, in the period immediately following the conflict. Therefore, it's very important to undertake actions in the shortest possible time. The social harm caused by remnants of war is incompatible with sustainable development and the three fundamental aspects of human well-being: economic development, environmental sustainability, and social inclusion. Azerbaijan has become the most contaminated country in the world, with over 7 billion square meters reported as contaminated with mines and other type of explosives. Annually, enormous resources are allocated by leading international financial to address the anti-mine bans related challenge and to protect human rights in general. And the fact that Azerbaijan is on the top of the list should be taken into serious consideration while distribution and utilization of these resources. Over almost 30 years, 20% of Azerbaijan territory has been occupied by Armenian armed forces. Along an extended former line of contact, large numbers of landmines were laid and are now found in areas that are high priority for return of displaced people. The area includes ghost towns that have been uninhabited over the 30-year period and where ERW contamination is often present. After the 44-day war that ended in November 2020, more than 11,000 square meters of land was liberated. Since then, clearance has focused on roads, power lines, railways, water supplies, communication, and other infrastructure. A total of over 6,000 hectares has been cleared, and more than 27,000 mines and unexploded ordnance, UXO, have been destroyed by ANAMA. At the same time, other state agencies such as Azerbaijan Ministry of Defense have also been active. The MOD has cleared almost 13,000 hectares and destroyed over 16,000 mines in UXO. The MOD has focused on clearance of open areas such as agricultural land, which offer clearer land release process, while working with ANAMA to develop a common system of national requirements in line with international mine action standards. Within the former line of contact of approximately 1.5 billion square meters of contaminated land, the threat consists of a mix of anti-personnel, blasts, fragmentation, and bounding mines, as well as anti-tank mines. The threat includes minimum metal content mines that are more difficult to detect. The majority of mines are Armenian manufactured and laid. There remains much uncertainty about the implication of the contamination and the demand on resources and time necessary to free the region from this threat to lives and livelihoods of the people of Azerbaijan. While there is greater clarity about the situation along the former line of contact, it is becoming increasingly clear that there are additional mine areas associated with the retreat of Armenian forces through the liberated territory. Demining and survey teams have been active throughout the area over the last years and have started identifying some of those additional areas. It is expected that further similar hazardous areas will come to light as the survey and clearance work continues. The most obvious immediate impact is the death and injury suffered by returning people. Between 2020 and November 2021, 25 people have been killed, the most recent in November 2020, when 44 people have been injured, including 1 female and 3 children. And these figures cover civilians only. Other accidents have involved military personnel working in the liberated areas. The presence of mine and other contamination also impaired large-scale reconstruction program being implemented by the government. Accordingly, clearance by priority are first main access route, then key infrastructure, including power line, water supplies, gas, communication network, etc. The main towns and district capital, followed by secondary roads, agricultural land, villages, and surrounding farmland, and finally the former line of contact. There is huge pressure to allow internally displaced people to return to areas from which they have been excluded for so long. The combination of direct risks to them from mines and UXO, and the delays associated with having to clear land before any reconstruction present further challenge for Azerbaijan. Mine action is a precondition for safe IDP returns, resettlement, and socio-economic development in the liberated areas. Immediately after the war, displaced people wanted to return to their hometowns. As part of renewing their emotional connection with the land of their parents and grandparents, many wished to visit cemeteries to pay their respect to members of their families. Such places are themselves contaminated with abundant explosive items, including AP mines. In some cases, trench lines and other high-risk military positions run right through cemeteries, adding to the ARW threat faced by returning people. Until the people are free to go about their lives safely and without fear of landmine and UXO, they are unable to engage in economic activity for their own and local livelihoods and contribute to the wider social and economic situation in Azerbaijan. Despite of resources allocated by the government, the mine action in Azerbaijan remains severely underfunded to respond to existing needs. Moreover, the Azerbaijan Mine Action Agency, ANAMA, is also in need of technical expertise and assistance and in-kind contributions such as mechanical mine clearance machinery, related equipment, and mine-detecting dogs. The current challenge is to scale up capacity to a level appropriate to the current needs and objectives. As mine action is the entry point for any post-conflict rehabilitation process and further development initiatives, involving international expertise and allocating resources will contribute to building a strong platform where a network of both national and international stakeholders could better co-function in line with the international standards. International assistance will help save lives, enable IDP to return to their homes in safety and dignity, and bring sustainable development to the affected territories and people. Thank you for your attention. I will give the floor to Dr. Nidal SALIM from GIWEH.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And actually, I would like to start by thanking Mr. Richard Bellity, the Executive Secretary of International Institute for Rights and Development, who invite us to join this meeting today to celebrate together the International Day of Mines. Actually, this is a good opportunity and it's a pleasure to be in this day with this organization. And I'm coming from a different dimension, I think, once we deal with mines, because we used to hear always that when mines come to mind, mines or landmines, it comes to the mind always the losses of people, the losses of infrastructure, the losses of humanitarian issues, the losses of environment. But until now, we didn't have a real focus on the environment while dealing with these things. Once we come in 2015 in the United Nations to the Sustainable Development Agenda, 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, it comes with 17 goals, starting with poverty reduction and ends by cooperation and partnership. And within this frame, we went through many things. We went through pollution, health, environment, agriculture, water, inclusive growth, innovation, peace and justice. And all these things are completely dealing with the mining and landmines. Actually, in the last years, we saw a lot of tension, and because once we speak about mines and landmines, we are speaking about post-conflict and conflict areas. And this is a very important issue that nowadays we have many tensions in all over the world, in many different areas. And in my opinion, when it comes to my mines and landmines, I was wondering even why these things was not in the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals of the Sustainable Development Agenda. I know that it could be involved in somehow in 1 or 2 or 3 of the items, but it's not highlighted very well. So once we speak about, I'm coming from the water sector, I'm a hydrologist. We used to say that the core of the Sustainable Development Agenda is the water. Because water gives us the right, water and environment give us the life, give us the prosperity for life, give us the development. Without water, we cannot achieve the Sustainable Development Agenda. But going parallel to that, because before we didn't think too much about mines and land mines, water and other things we cannot go without the challenges which come from mines and land mines, because the land mines, it kills the human being, it kills the land, it kills the vegetation, and it spreads many diseases. So this is something which is always linked, because once we used to speak about water, we used to speak about water, water, food, energy, and health. But now I have another dimension where we have to think about it. So this is the first point where I'm going to highlight. Once we speak about the second point is, until now, the environmental management impact is not very well understood, and most of the countries in the world, in their dealing with the legacy, they didn't yet introduce the national standard of incorporate environmental management. So incorporate environmental management while dealing with the landmines is still absent, and it didn't exist. I heard from my colleague Richard, when he presented the cases of Azerbaijan, he was speaking about the death of many people, injured people in the area. They lose many human beings, social aspects, but also there is another dimension which we didn't think about it, which is the environmental dimension. Once we speak about the landmines, we are speaking about the land. We are speaking about the soil. We are speaking about water. We are speaking about vegetation. So I think once we look to the Sustainable Development Goals, or Sustainable Development pillars, we have 3 pillars for the Sustainable Development. We have the economy, we have the environment, and we have the social aspects. So dealing with the landmines is still dealing now with economy and social aspect, but it didn't deal until this moment with the environmental aspects. Once we speak about the landmines, we are speaking about clearance of vegetation and some vegetables and some trees in the area. Once we speak about landmines, we are speaking about heavy machines, we are speaking about hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste, and the impact of this hazardous waste into the environment. Actually, in this region, in this part of the world, because the landmine issue is a famous issue on most part of the world. It exists in South America, it exists in Africa, it exists in Middle East, it exists in Asia. And Nagorno-Karabakh region, where is Azerbaijan, it's another area which is a very hot spot with the impact of landmines on the humanitarian, on the social, and on the environmental issue. I think within our visit to the region, because we used to visit the region to run some courses in different countries in the Caucasian region, including Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, we saw that the environmental impact is too high in the region. And within our visit to Azerbaijan, we saw also that the landmines could be also a source of pollution for the water, in addition to the clearance of vegetation and other impacts. And from our side, we are trying now to push something, because we used to say, if we look to the inclusive growth, because once we speak about Sustainable Development Goals, one of the main goals, which we have goal number 8, it speaks about inclusive growth and green economy. In the inclusive growth, we are speaking about reviving the economy of the countries, we are speaking about solving the problem of unemployment people, and we are speaking about the impact of the environment. If we have landmines, all these things will not it will be a big challenge for achieving anything in the Sustainable Development Agenda. It will be a big challenge to make a development in the inclusive growth. So once we speak about landmines, we have to go and analyze all sustainable development goals because it enters to everything. When you speak about health, we have hazardous waste. When you speak about agriculture, clearance of vegetables and other type of food. When we speak about water, it makes pollution for water. And also we have to think about the land because there is a degradation for the soil. There is a pollution for the land. And it decreases the amount of area which could be available for agriculture and for food, for solving the problem of agriculture for people. So all these things have to be at the top core of dealing with the landmines. Once we speak about environment, we have to prioritize the environmental aspects, and we have to think about the legislation and sometimes in going on security constraints. Environmental management and mitigation has not always been a priority until now. So these have to be a priority, and it has to be calculated even, because once we speak about social aspects, we speak about numbers, how many people are killed, how many people are injured. But once we deal about environment, we just speak big sentences for nothing in details analysis about what is the losses, how we can evaluate the real impact of landmines of the environment. I think we have been involved in many work in different parts of the world to evaluate the impact of pollution, but we didn't involve the landmines. Now it gives us another dimension to think about the impact of landmines and mines while we are developing the environmental profile and the environmental impact on the ground. And it will give us the chance to prioritize our agenda for environment. Actually, I was searching to see who are dealing with this issue and who was giving the priority of landmines and mine, to put it as, because it could be established a type of link between environment and humanitarian action. I found that there was a network which was established according to the call established by the UN. It's a network in 2014 established to promote environmentally responsible humanitarian program. I think this network could be a good network to lead this type of work where we can cooperate and try to see how we can evaluate this. And another source, I found that Green Cross organization and in London School for Economy, they are trying to make a type of research to see what could be the impact of green growth, green economy, and the link with these things to the environmental aspects of and the impact of landmines. I would say in our organization, we are adopted a strategy based on the security, because while we are dealing with water, we are speaking always about water security. But water security is not going alone. Water security is going with food security, energy security. To achieve security, we have to achieve general security in the region where we are working. So in this region is a highly tense area of many political conflict. Landmines is a big challenge for the Sustainable Development Agenda in the region. We are trying to be involved in one way or another to make a type of call for a peace platform where people can move from challenges to opportunities. What we have here, we have a lot of challenges in the region. These challenges can increase and can deteriorate the whole situation in the region. But at the other side, there are many other opportunities where we have to look in the region trying to develop. And this is, I think, the core of the celebration of the International Day of Mine, the first of demining, but also planting something instead of the mines. We would like to plant the hope. We would like to plant the cooperation. We would like to plant the peace in the region. So we are calling for a platform to see how we can cooperate, because it's also a type of a trade-off once you deal with the region, I think, between Armenia and Azerbaijan. What I saw in the last few months, there was a type of a trade-off that Azerbaijan are released many prisoners from their area. In the contrary, Armenia are giving a plan for the places, some places of the landmine. This initiative could be enlarged and scaling up for cooperation, even putting sometimes the environmental aspect, because we have some indication in the water that there are toxic material in the water resources in the area. We don't know if the landmines have an impact there or not, but there is waste. There is a type of hazardous waste, but could be the landmines also could be a source of pollution in the area. I will finalize by saying that while we are dealing with landmines, we have to put the environment at the top agenda, not only calculating and counting the people who die, because the obvious, the clear losses for the landmines is the human being. But also we have another losses which present in the environmental aspects, in the agriculture, in the food, in the land, in the unemployment rate of the country. This is one thing. The second thing I will add, I will call again for the United Nations to think about. I know that the Sustainable Development Goals, it's an agenda up to 2030, and the landmines is hidden in many of these goals. But I will stress that landmine have to be another goal, could be goal number 18. We are thinking for long, now we are 2022, and updating this agenda will come by 2030. But I think landmine could be one of the themes where we have to focus and add it to the Sustainable Development Agenda. Could be goal number 18 or goal number 19, or I don't know how they have to think about it, because once you speak about peace and justice, which is goal number 10, and goal number 16, equity, justice and peace, you cannot speak why landmines are in the ground. So we have to work together as an organization, as an international community, as countries, to support the cleaning and the demining of the mines on the ground, and to put a pressure on countries who are practicing this issue. I know the political situation nowadays is bad everywhere, but there must be a type of more pressure putting on the ground on governments to go forward and clean the land, because the land doesn't belong to one country. It belongs to all of us everywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Salim. And thank you, Richard, and everyone attending. I think I can complement the environmental aspect as well by addressing sort of a social and economic lens through the Sustainable Development Goals approach, while connecting it to the landmine issues. I think the human impact and the economic impact are two of the major considerations here, specifically because the scale of the displacement is so large within Azerbaijan. So when we talk about internally displaced peoples, in Azerbaijan, there's nearly 700,000 internally displaced peoples, and this includes refugees and asylum seekers. Most of these internally displaced peoples are as a result of the conflict, the 44 Days War. However, there are also some refugees from other nations as well. And so roughly 90% of these internally displaced people come from the Nagorno-Karabakh region and the 7 regions around that. And so because of the 44 Days War, there were nearly roughly 84,000, 85,000 internally newly displaced peoples in the country. And so this has a huge impact on the social, on the lives of these people, because this is nearly 7% of the population of Azerbaijan. And so originally these people were forced to relocate temporarily to camps, but now many of them live in urban areas or new settlements that have been created. Primarily the private sector has been mobilized now to create new settlements where 5,000 families are living, but the state has also begun to develop smart villages to begin the relocation of the internally displaced people in the region. So when talking about the social aspect of the internally displaced people, this has a huge psychological impact on the lives of the internally displaced, their families, but also those people where they were relocated to other villages as well. This has an impact on the lives of everyone in the nation. It puts stress on the financial capabilities and the social services that the state can provide, because the socioeconomic impact is extremely high in this area. It costs the country roughly $380 per IDP per year to provide security, housing, education, health, and livelihood assistance that they might not necessarily need if they were not internally displaced because of the conflict. And so this accounts for a huge portion of the Azerbaijan's GDP. And so there needs to be a financial assistance to provide better shelter, basic needs, water, better access to water, food, as well as there needs to be a better community awareness and relocation education when considering the landmines and the potential threat that they hold when relocating families to the Nagorno-Karabakh region and other areas, their former homes. So when talking about landmines...
Could you speak closer to the microphone, please? Thank you very much.
Sorry. So when talking about landmines themselves, there's a lot of landmines and other unexploded remnants of war in the area. And so when this poses a threat not only to the civilians and IDPs, but also to the military personnel during demining operations when people are displaced, but also in the returning to the land, because when you return to the land, there's a threat to the livelihoods, but also to in the way that they integrate with the land as well. And so IDPs have a huge challenge to overcome, because nearly 70% of IDPs have shown a desire to return to their homes. However, because of the threat that the landmines pose, there needs to be the removal of the landmines and successful removal of the landmines. But this may take 10 to 13 years. There's already been some instances where IDPs or civilians have bypassed military restrictions and been harmed by the landmines themselves. And so there needs to be some level of education and awareness of why these military restrictions are in place, but also there needs to be some education once they return back to the land and how to protect themselves from the potential threat that they pose. And so when talking about the region, when they return, they're not only looking to reclaim the land itself, they're also looking to reclaim an identity, a culture. They're looking to rebuild and return to a former life, essentially. So demining here is not just a security issue and a way to save lives and prevent injuries, but it is also vital to the infrastructure, education, and agricultural reconstruction in the region as well. It's necessary to rebuild their lives. If the land is not cleared of mines, the people who return will not feel safe in their own homes, in their own regions, and so the threat and the consequences are extremely high. So how can the international community help? The international community can be involved more in the assistance to the IDPs, both the financial assistance, as because there is a financial strain on the government itself, but also through the recognition of the links between peace and security and human rights and sustainable development, specifically the social and economic impacts of the Sustainable Development Goals. But then also as families begin to return to their homes, to these mine-free zones over the next several years, there needs to be assistance in the health, education, and economic areas. And this assistance should be focused specifically around landmines and potential threats that this poses. And so with that, I think I will close. And I will hand it back to Dr. Salim, potentially for Q&A.
I think for Tobias.
Thank you very much.
Tobias, yeah.
So maybe if you have questions, please raise your hand in the audience or maybe online, and we'll try to take a few questions right now. So if in the audience there is a question, yes, please. Could you just give your name and introduce the organization for whom you're working? Okay, or just your name, so thank you very much.
So, hello, my name is Elias. I would like to know what the international community has done against the Armenia or something about the landmines, if they are doing something or they did to eradicate the landmines. Has Armenia give the map? A map where the landmines are or something?
Yeah, they gave maps, but they are not really accurate for now. So we are still waiting for some information regarding that topics, yes.
Thank you. You had a question or no? Okay. Nobody online?
I might add something just to
please.
say that we are celebrating today the International Day for Mines, and I think the message which we are presenting here that to move forward from challenges to opportunities in the region. This region is a very rich region in many aspects. I think we are working in the South Caucasian. In the South Caucasian, we have 3 countries, which is Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. In each country of this country, there is a lot of possibilities and in the development to support the development agenda. I know the very complicated political situation in the region, but we used to say that the only thing which is stable in the world is the continuous change. In the International Day for Mines, we are calling these 3 countries to look for the opportunities, how to move from conflict into cooperation. I know it's a big concept to speak about this, but we are always highlighting our voice that these 3 countries, especially now when you look to the global agenda, how things are moving, I think in part of this area there is the Silk Road, which will be something which is promising in the future for cooperation between the 3 countries. Clearance of landmines, it's a must in the region. These landmines have to be removed to achieve prosperity for 3 countries, not only for 1 country. Even these countries are linked from east and from west to Turkey and to Central Asia. I think the land which is occupied by landmines in the area are huge land, and this land have to move from a challenge not only for the land itself, but a challenge for the sustainable development agenda. It has to move from a challenge for the stand to an opportunity to all population in the region, including, as I said, because we were looking in the environmental profile. Again, including the environmental profile, and environment could be a catalyst to put 3 countries to, might be in one way or another, to work together, because we used to work previously with the Graduate Institute to let the 3 countries sit together and discuss about the global governance, environmental governance, etc. We never had the chance to discuss with the 3 countries together, because always we are discussing like Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and trying to make facilitation to put things together. So again, we are calling in this day to look for a platform for peace and negotiation in the area based on a type of economical model of win-win situation for all and based on clearance of landmines.
Thank you, Dr. Salim. Maybe Mr. Bellity, you want to have a word to conclude this
panel? To thanks again the Youth Parliament organization that gave us a very interesting speech today from New Curie. Thank you again to Dr. Nidal SALIM. Thank you again, Linda, for your your cooperation.
Yeah, so to conclude, as you said, Dr. Salim, we have to find a way in which the cooperation regarding landmines would seem to be more of a win-win situation to all states which are included in it. Yet the fact of exchanging the military prisoners with the maps of the mines is from a human rights and a humanitarian point of view not really acceptable, because civilians do not have to pay for military, and military should not be released on the price of the survival of the civilians. So the win-win situation should as you mentioned, take into account the major consequences of the environment, especially that the environment is a public good, which is shared like the rivers, like the water resources and so on. There are public goods that are shared between countries, and environment should be a way to maintain a discussion and a panel around peace. And also the survival of the civilians, the economic and the social development, as my colleague Noah said, but especially not based on the civilians' life and survival. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for this development. Thank you very much. Thank you, the Press Club, too.
I think there is one more question in the audience. So can we have a microphone, maybe? So.
Thank you. From the discussion, it's clear that Azerbaijan is one of the most polluted with landmines zones currently, but the least known internationally. And I wonder what today Azerbaijan needs to do to increase awareness and engage more international community decision makers to find solution in mine clearing process.
So it is more a comment, I guess, than a question.
No,
thank you for this valuable comment.
Yeah,
Thank you
what
very much.
Azerbaijan needs to do today, how he can get, Azerbaijan can get international support in mine clearing process. Today it's more polluted, but least known place in the world that it has been polluted by landmines.
So how can Azerbaijan raise awareness about its current situation and help to have a coalition join maybe and help an international help to...
In fact, it's the topic of this conference, to raise awareness through the international community and especially through UN mass that can give a lot of help for the demining at the technical level. And for the international community, it will be for the founding level, if I can say so,
Thank you. I think this is a question came from, about Azerbaijan, but I think there is another question from Armenia. Let's have the question and then might be I'll go for both together. Yeah. Madam, I think Madam, she wants to speak.
Thank you very much for your information. It's a very serious problem. It involves the international community and the environment. But there's one question. I'm sorry I missed the first part of the conference. You're talking about landmines in Azerbaijan. Do you have any idea or any certitude who installed those landmines in Azerbaijan? I mean, which territory of Azerbaijan you're talking about? How were they installed in it? By whom?
Mostly it's linked with the conflict with Armenia, Madam. It's mostly the mines and explosive ordnance are laid by Armenian armed force. Yeah. That's your question.
Yeah, yes, I will turn back again to for both comments. First one is what could be requested from Azerbaijan, or how Azerbaijan could raise the public awareness. I think in goal number 17 in the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, we have the partnership. I think Azerbaijan have to look for partnership with different actors, especially with UN organization, private sector, NGOs, and others to work together to put this agenda in a top priority. So I think for the short term and long term, you have to, I think, Azerbaijan have to highlight their voices, have to put these things in international agenda. They have to go for public awareness, I don't know, campaign in different aspects, and to try to work with governments and with the international community. This could be one thing. You can even work on a type of civil society movement, not only in Azerbaijan, but in the region, in the whole region, how to look for cooperation. For the second question, or the second point coming from dear colleague from, she didn't mention the organization, but we know each other from the UN. She's from Armenia. Concerning who's the source of this landmines, the area is since long time, it has a big conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh. And as my colleague who's who's inviting us for this event for today, I think they did a report and they were involved in a type of fact sheet report which was done a few months ago. They visited the area and they came with some fact from the area, and they submit their report to UN Mass, where they are trying to plan to go for a type of asking for, and this is also something for Azerbaijan, to asking for a chapter, opening a chapter for dealing with that landmines in the region. So as he said, this landmines is coming according to the conflict. And it's obviously that it comes from Armenian side. That's why when they are dealing in the negotiation, that they are changing or exchanging, making a type of a trade-off, that military soldiers have to be realized. In the contrary, they have to get a type of land at the map, where is the landmine. So these maps are provided by Armenia, which means that these lands is the plant of the mines, it comes from the Armenian side. So our call for both parties is to work together. Our message is not who put and who don't put these things. Our message that there is a huge land in the area which have to move from a challenge area to an opportunity area. So both sides, including everyone, community, because we are working community-based approach, it must be highlighted. Awareness have to be highlighted, and the request of the people from all sides, even I used to say, including Georgia, have to be raised that we would like to go for development in the region. We don't need any more conflict. And the reason why we are speaking, I think, why we accept to join this meeting, because we find that the landmines is going everywhere now. Not only Armenia, but now recently we have Ukraine and the war which is going between Russia and Ukraine. This is another topic. We didn't speak about this today, but this is another topic where we have to discuss, might be later, because there is a type of destroying for infrastructure. Landmines are going everywhere, and this could make a type of pollution. I said, as they presented our colleagues from IRDG, the losses in a human being, but we are speaking about the environment. Me, I'm a scientist who's working with water and environment. I'm speaking about the impact of environment, water resources, and health of these landmines. These landmines have to be removed everywhere, not only in this region, but everywhere, because it has a very bad impact on everyone, and it's a big challenge for the Sustainable Development Agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Salim. We have one more question on internet, and we'll try to take this question now, if possible. I think it is Mr. Marat Sadana. Can you hear us, Mr. Sadana? Okay, so he's not seeming to react. So I would like to thank you all for this conference. Thank you for the questions from the audience. And we'll leave it here, and I wish you a good continuation for raising the awareness of mines in Azerbaijan and having a cross-border collaboration between countries there. Thank you very much, and thank you to the Institute for Rights and Development in Geneva.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. At the end, I would like also to announce something, because this topic didn't come to our minds before. As a Global Institute for Water, Environment and Health, we are inviting with our colleagues from IRDG and other organizations. And I think this is a very valuable issue. So we also expect Mr. Pascal from Geneva Institute for Demining to join us for today. And at the last time, he apologized because he have other commitment. I think this topic have to be highlighted in a big scale. And we are calling from now that we are looking for partners. We are looking for partnership to go together for holding some meetings, some conferences as a preparatory action to make the awareness in the region. And we are inviting everyone in the region. We invited 3 countries, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and other countries who would like to join in this issue, because we would like to make a type of global initiative, but we would like to go for this area, this specific area, because in our institute, like Global Institute, we used to see a lot of opportunities in this part of the world. This part of the world could be a solution for many things. So we have to move from the conflict. I know that, again, I know the very complexity in the region. Actually, in Palestinian also, we face this type of conflict with the Israelis, but at the end, I was in the negotiation team from the Palestinian Water Authority. We sit together with the Israelis because these are basic human needs. And it has to be done in cooperation. It has to be done in a comprehensive understanding what would be the price of going to war or going to cooperation. So I think within the next few months, we will take the initiative, might be with our colleagues from IRDG and other colleagues who are joining us. Youth Parliament is also very important because this is the voice of youth, and also Midline and other organizations. So it will be a great pleasure with other organizations, because we are going also to invite you en masse, and again turn back to Geneva Institute for Demining, to invite them again to go in partnership, to see how we can do and what we can do together to support this agenda and trying to do something starting from the International Day of Mines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salim. Thank you for the audience who was following us online, and thank you for the audience here in the room. I wish you all a very good day. Thank you very much.